Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Dickenson, and you're listening to Camera Concerts. Our performer today is a music education, elementary education, and early childhood education major at Cecil College. Please welcome to our virtual stage, Quentin Fleetwood.
Hey, I hear the voice of a preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith to a broken down television and put on the weather. And I've trained myself to give up on the past, 'cause I've frozen time between hearses and caskets. Lost control when I panicked at the acid test. I wanna get better. My friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines. I was losing my mind because the love that I gave wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. That's why I'm standing on the overpass screaming at the cars, hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was lonely till I saw I wanna get better, 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 better. I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanna get better, 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 better. I wanna get better. I go up to my room and there's girls on the ceiling, cut out their pictures and I chase that feeling of an 18-year-old who didn't know what loss was. Now I'm a stranger, and I miss the days of a life still permanent. Mourn the years before I got carried away. So now I'm staring at the interstate, screaming at myself, hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was lonely till I saw I wanna get better, 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 better. I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanna get better, 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 better. I wanna get cause I'm sleeping in the back of a taxi. I'm screaming through my bedroom window, even if it's gonna kill me. Woke up this morning early before my family, from this dream where she was trying to show me how a life could move from the darkness. She said to get better, so I put a bullet where I should've put a helmet, and I crashed my car cause I wanna get carried away. That's why I'm standing on the overpass screaming at myself, hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was lonely till I saw your face. I wanna get better, 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 better. I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanna get better, 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 better. I wanna get better.
Quentin Fleetwood, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for being here. And that was really nice. That was a really nice song to start off with. One of the things that comes through, were in the video that you presented, is that you're playing a lot of instruments. And if I'm hearing things correctly, there's a lot of instruments in there that we're not seeing you play, but I think you're also playing as well. And I was just wondering if you could, tell us a little bit about your background and how you started playing music and how you got interested in so many different instruments.
Sure, absolutely. So I started out with, believe it or not, actually drums. That's the one you don't see in there, even though there are some drums in there. I started out with that in around middle school, actually. So I don't know, I think to a lot of people that would probably seem like I started a little late, But I learned from a person from my church who was in high school. And she actually ended up going to the College of Music up at Berkeley. And so I learned drums from her, and then I started getting interested in I started getting interested in guitar and like bass. So I started learning guitar from her. And then like right as I had started getting kind of okay at it, she had to leave for college. So I kind of took it upon myself to keep learning guitar. And then from there, I kind of expanded to a lot of different instruments. I took piano lessons. I took those both from a private teacher, and I ended up taking them at Cecil. And what else do I play? I'm trying to remember. I play bass guitar.
Uh-huh.
I do have a banjo. I don't play that
Mm-hmm.
as well, but I do have one.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Smoky Mountain dulcimer that I play pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it. I also play the the ukulele.
You mean that's all you play? Is that what you're saying?
That's all I play.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's great. And, I think it was actually the piano class. I think that was the first time we met, was in the piano class that you took at Cecil. And at that time, I wasn't even sure that, you were going to be a music major. I'm not sure if you knew you were going to be a music major or not. Because I know that you are, at this time, you're music ed major, but you're also elementary ed major, and I think something else as well, right? Is that...
Yeah, early childhood.
Early childhood, yeah. And so, you have a real interest in education and that kind of thing. And we'll probably come back and talk about that a little bit later. But it's interesting just hearing you talk about the progression of instruments that you learn, because I think that's one of the interesting things is it's almost kind of like an exponential growth. Like once you learn one instrument, the very first instrument you learn, you're trying to learn the basics and a lot of the fundamentals of music and stuff. And then when you go to another instrument, even though might be something completely different, like drums and guitar or piano, then you're still taking those elements of music and transferring them over. And have you found that to be the case, like as you've learned other instruments?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think I think that something I would agree with that a lot of people say is like I wish that I had started on piano.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of theory is very easy to understand when you start with piano.
Mm-hmm.
So I think starting with guitar, it still helped me, and it actually helped me get a lot of the theory stuff, like once I transferred it over to piano, which was nice.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is one thing that I think a lot of people start to realize is how related the piano is and how relatable it is, especially in a theory context, I think. And a lot of people complain about that, a lot of, because the piano is used in theory class and, not just at Cecil, but at all schools. But the reason is because, it's so visually laid out,
Exactly.
so nicely. And, I think almost every other instrument, doesn't have it visually laid out quite as nicely as that. But so yeah, that's a really good point that you're bringing up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of playing, music, tell us about that first song and why you chose it.
Sure. So that first song is called "I Want to Get Better." It's by an artist. He's based in Brooklyn, named Jack Antonoff. He's actually my favorite artist. And so that was one of the first singles. I think it might have been the first one that he released under his solo project called Bleachers. He was originally the guitarist for the band Fun, and before that, I believe he was the vocalist for a band called Steel Train. But so he released that in 2014, and basically, like, so I guess musically, it takes a lot of these different like samples that he took from kind of actually like different parts of like his life, and he created kind of the groove from those. And then I think what's really cool about his voice is that he has such a range. Like he can go from way up here, like shouting, all the way down to these like low, like baritone notes. So I think that's something that I really enjoy about it. And the first time I heard this song was it was the summer of 2016 or 2017. Was July 4th. I do remember that. And I was riding around with some friends and we heard it on the radio. And like, I mean, within the first like minute, I knew this was going to be a song that was going to really, really just stick with me. And kind of like, I think it really, to me, it represents all those good times, like with my friends. And I think that's one of the reasons that I chose it, honestly.
Yeah, and it's really cool to hear you talk about it in that way, because it reminds me of some of the music that is really close to my heart, as well. And a lot of it actually has to do with summer and, spending time with friends. And I feel like, especially like in 2016, like how old were you?
I would have been 17.
17. Yeah. So I have the same kind of memories like from when I was 17. And, just spending the summers with friends, and that kind of freedom. And I feel like the music that's a part of that at that age just is really powerful. And for me, it's really stuck with me, even all these years. And I think it sounds like that this is a song, and there's probably others like them that will stick with you as well.
Absolutely. There are only a few songs like that for me, but they really mean a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I love about music, and I think that maybe you share the same thing. It's just that powerful emotional connection that you can really have to a song and the memories that it creates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's hear another song. And what's this next one that we're going to hear?
This next one is called Bukowski. And it's named that after the 20th century poet Charles Bukowski. Funny enough, I actually don't really enjoy his work. Of all like the poets and like novelists that I enjoy, he's just not really one that I ever really got into. But it's named that because he's mentioned in the first verse. I couldn't really find anything else in the song that kind of linked it to him. But I think one of the cool things about this song, I think there are like two, I think there are two aspects of this song that I really enjoy that really like drew it to me, or that really drew me to the song. The song didn't come to me. It feels like that sometimes. But but with this one, I think so lyrically, it mentions so many things that are just me. It mentions those like cool historical figures that I really enjoy just like learning about. So it mentions like Hemingway. It mentions Morrissey. Love Morrissey. It mentions Earl Grey tea. I love Earl Grey tea. It's my favorite kind of tea. It mentions the band Jimmy Eat World. It mentions the band Death Cab for Cutie. And I mean, the list goes on and on. There's just so much with that. And then I think the other thing that I really like about it is just the sound of this song. It just kind of like drives forward. And I think that's really reminiscent of some of like the older, like early pop punk stuff from like the 2000s that I really enjoy. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, it sounds like this song was written specifically for you. So
at times it does seem like that.
All right. Well, let's hear this performance. So this is Quentin Fleetwood performing Bukowski.
Bukowski's growing old. I'll never know why you close the window. Start reading Hemingway, start drinking cups of Earl Grey. Then I guess maybe one day I'll be yours forever. I'm the best book you'll never read. You make me feel like Jimmy Dean. You make me feel like Morrissey when you undress from your best dress. To keep warm, I'll bring a sweater. You can have mine, it looks better. And honestly, you can take it home. To keep warm, I'll bring a sweater. You can have mine, it looks better. And honestly, you can take it home. You can take it. We'll take blankets to stay safe. I'll do my best to stay out of your way. Then I guess maybe one day I'll be yours forever. I'll introduce you to clarity, teach you the words to the sound of settling, make you watch High Fidelity on a Sunday, maybe one day. Keep warm, I'll bring a sweater. You can have mine, it looks better. And honestly, you can take it home. To keep warm, I'll bring a sweater. You can have mine, it looks better. And honestly, you can take it home. You can take it. I'll bring a sweater. You can have mine, it looks better. And honestly, you can take it home. To keep warm, I'll bring a sweater. You can have mine, it looks better. And honestly, you can take it home. You can take it.
Quentin, that was a great performance. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
A few minutes ago, you mentioned that you're really interested in poetry and you're influenced by various poets. I know you said you don't like Bukowski, but I was wondering if you could maybe share with us some of the poets that you do like and the poetry that influences you.
Absolutely. I think the main poet that really, really influences me is Sylvia Plath. I've loved her work ever since my first, it was like my first or second semester in college that I discovered it, and I kind of started reading it. I really enjoy her stuff because of kind of the perspective that you get from her, just being like a woman in the 50s in her position. I really enjoy that. I also really enjoy a lot of poetry that has like a flow to it. And some of her poetry has that, some of it doesn't. But I really enjoy, I don't know, I just really enjoy taking a lot of influence from her poetry in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think both things that you're saying are really interesting and really correct, because when, I think we had talked about in another conversation, about it being sort of a little bit dark, and that kind of thing. And certainly when I said that, that certainly is not a criticism at all, because I think you're right. I think you can really find a lot of beauty and a lot of truth, in that kind of expression, and especially at that time, and even now, honestly, she's talking about things that often are difficult, I think, for us to talk about, between one another, and so it's really important, I think, to both have that outlet and then also know that somebody else feels that way, I think.
Absolutely.
I think we were also talking at one point about, uh, being influenced by poetry, when we're writing music as well. And
Mhm.
tell us about your creative process along those lines, being
Sure.
inspired, like when you're writing music.
So the way that I'm inspired by poetry when I'm writing music, it definitely relates more to like the flow portion of it.
Mhm.
Um, Although I do like to mix a lot of like interesting like concepts into my music or into my lyrics. So uh, for people to find, it's interesting. It's really fun to do. But I think as far as poetry goes, I think just I like to take like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take the rhythm of a specific poem and I can set different words to it, and then I kind of create a different rhythm from those words. I think that's something that I've done a lot, not just with poetry, but with other songs. I think that really helps me. I don't do it all the time, but it does help.
And the next song that we're going to hear is an original that you're
Mm,
going to play for us. And I don't know if poetry influenced this, but tell us about the background of this song that
mm.
we're about to hear.
Sure. This one actually wasn't like as influenced by poetry as it could have been, I guess.
Mhm.
I think a lot of I think a lot of my other songs are. This one just kind of came from the heart. Um,
Mhm.
it sounds a little cheesy, but it did. So, so yeah, this song is called May, um, spelled M-A-E. And actually, funny enough, my first song that I ever wrote was called May M-A-Y, as in like the month.
Mhm.
And it's out there on SoundCloud. You can look it up. Shameless plug. Um, and so with that song, it kind of talks about the month of May and kind of all of like the good things that have happened in my life have kind of happened in the month of May. I feel like I think I met a lot of my friends in the month of May. I know a lot of people talk about meeting them in like the fall, and I mean I did meet a lot of my friends in the fall, but I think I grew and became good friends with them by the month of May. I think that's one of the reasons that I really like it. I really like also like the end of spring is really it's just a really great time. I don't know why. I've always liked it. Um, there's this excitement that you're going into summer with.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
What were you gonna say?
I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and I really like the again the way that you're talking about that, because I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, with that idea of this excitement and the freedom of summer, and
mm,
it's really neat to hear you kind of expressing that, with a song. And this one is
r-
spelled May a little differently.
right. This is
Yeah.
spelled a little differently
Mhm.
because, like, I have always wanted a daughter,
Mhm.
um, and I would love to name her May, just after the month of May, but spelled M-A-E. I love that name. And that name actually didn't just come from the month of May, it also came from a song
Mhm.
uh, called A Song for Eva May by a guy named Frank Turner. I really enjoy his stuff, and I heard that song, and I really liked the name, and then I realized, that name kind of goes with the month of May as well, just because it sounds the same. Um, so I kind of took that, and now I I don't want to name my daughter May. And I think this song is a I I guess it kind of reads like a lullaby almost,
Mhm.
or it should read kind of like a note to her, I guess.
Mhm.
And and I and I think this note kind of should be applicable to her, like before she's born, when she's born, and as she's growing up, and like I mean, even after I'm gone. That's kind of what I want it to be.
Mhm.
I just want it to be this thing that like she can have and treasure forever.
Yeah, and I really love that idea and the way you're describing it because, you know, again, it's really kind of one of the powerful things about music and how versatile music is. And my dog is joining us here. um, because you can take the idea, you can take so many different ideas and just put them all together in a really unique and creative and expressive way, you know, and that's I think, you know, I think what you're doing is really kind of a perfect example of how music can be so powerful. And you know, I just really love the way that you're describing it and the whole concept of this song.
Thank you.
So, well, why don't we take a listen? So this is May, written and performed by Quentin Fleetwood.
When I was your age, I stood up tall, higher than it all. When I was your age, I never knew the blessing that is you. Tears are the heart's words when we can't speak, and all the world turns bleak. Sometimes we can't cry, and that's alright. You don't need to fight. And hey, hey, little May, don't you be afraid. The storms of this life ain't so bad. And hey, hey, little May, don't you go away. I'll never wanna let you go. 'Cause you're a wildflower here, a sunflower there, but always a rose in my heart. And as you grow, I'll be there to show you all the things you've gotta learn. Oh, I love you more than you will ever know. Most days the whole world will drive you mad. Where's the grace they had? But look for the sun on the worst of days. The world has its ways. And hey, hey, little May, don't you be afraid. The storms of this life ain't so bad. And hey, hey, little May, don't you go away. I'll never wanna let you go. 'Cause you're a wildflower here, a sunflower there, but always a rose in my heart. And as you grow, I'll be there to show you all the things you've gotta learn. Oh, I love you more than you will ever know. Chase after true love, it's only once you get to love someone. And hey, hey, little May, don't you be afraid. The storms of this life ain't so bad. And hey, hey, little May, don't you go away. I'll never wanna let you go. 'Cause you're a wildflower here, a sunflower there, but always a rose in my heart. And as you grow, I'll be there to show you all the things you've gotta learn. Oh, I love you more than you will ever know.
Well, thanks again for sharing that beautiful song and for joining us today.
Mhm. Thank you for having me.
Before we go, I did want to just, you know, ask you about being a music ed major. I was wondering if you could tell us kind of why you decided to go in the direction of education. Like I said earlier, you're not just a music ed major, you're also elementary and early childhood major as well. And I believe you're also already starting your career. You're already doing some teaching now, I think.
Yeah, I'm doing some general music education. I teach a couple of general music classes, and yeah.
No, that's great that you're already getting started on your career and getting some opportunities. What was it that drew you to the education side of your career?
My mom is a preschool teacher. She's been a couple of different teachers, and but I think she really found herself in preschool education. And I've always loved, like, I don't know, I've just always loved being in the classroom and helping the kids. And it was actually not until my last year of high school that I really decided that I wanted to do teaching, like that I wanted to get into education. And then I think through being at Cecil, I realized, like, wow, this really is what I want to do. Um, so I really enjoy that. And there's a quote, actually, I have it here. It says, "The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next." And that's actually a quote from Abraham Lincoln. And I think that really kind of informs my like my perspective on education. Um, like, I really love just the fact that I'm able to, like, influence the next generation. These, like, I mean, these people are going to be the next generation. They are taking over. And I think educators have a really unique opportunity to bring up, or yeah, I mean, I guess to bring up that, like, that next generation, really.
Yeah, and I wasn't familiar with that quote until you just said it, but I really love it. I mean, that immediately like conveys a lot of the ideas, you know, I think that are in the back of my mind as well. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's interesting because the quote is obviously, it's from a politician that's about government, but I mean,
Right.
it can obviously be applied to anything. I mean,
Exactly.
the same thing with music and the technology fields or businesses, or anything. I mean, you're really yeah. I mean, the young people now are going to create the future that we will live in. And that's a really important and powerful idea. And you've really been a fantastic student for the more than 2 years, I think, that I've known you. I think,
Yeah, it's been 3 now.
yeah. And yeah, and you've just been a fantastic student and very professional, very disciplined. You're a very hard worker, and I have no doubt that you will instill those same qualities on your students. And so I'm really glad that you're going into the teaching field, and I think you'll just be a great influence on all your students.
Well, thank you.
Um, well, I seriously mean it. So good luck with all your career, and thank you for being a part of this program, and thank you for being a part of this show as well, and thank you for sharing your music with us.
I really enjoyed it.
Good. All right. Well, thanks a lot, and stay safe out there, and we'll talk soon.
All right, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. I couldn't mention this during the interview because it wasn't official yet, but I'm very happy to announce that Quentin is the recipient of Cecil's Outstanding Graduate Award. This very high honor goes to the graduate who has the highest GPA of the entire graduating class. Quentin is graduating with a very impressive 4.0 GPA. Congratulations, Quentin. We are very proud of you and wish you all the best for the future. And thanks to all of you for listening to this performance today. Join us next time for more great performances on camera concerts. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sane. Have a great week.